Narrative-based, choice and consequence style games are one of my favourite genres, but even I can admit we've been starved of a good one in quite some time. Last year's Lost Records Bloom and Rage had some great moments, but ultimately fell short of the standards that this genre should have. Step up Ad Hoc Studio, who brought us back to the episodic model, back to distinct art styles, and ultimately forwards into a new era for one of my favourite genres. The real heart of Dispatch starts the moment you step into the life of Robert Robertson, currently walking an identity crisis. As he was beforehand Mecha Man, he had this reputation for being solid and dependable, but then he blows his final mission spectacularly, and overnight he goes from respected hero to a guy sitting alone not knowing what to do with himself. The game never rushes through this. Robert's fall is awkward, it's painful, and it's humiliating in very human ways. But it is at times also quite funny, because Robert is, frankly, a pretty funny guy and a bit of a, you could say, dork. But there is still a real weight behind it. When you've spent years being the hero, when you aren't the hero, you don't really know who you are anymore. And then comes the job offer. Blonde Blazer comes and saves him and offers him a job as a superhero dispatcher for the Z-Team, a group of reformed or attempting to reform villains. They are not the elite, they are not the B-listers, they are the Z-listers. They are the literal bottom of the roster weirdos who have been scooped up by a rehabilitation program that probably didn't get much funding, I would imagine. On paper, Robert should feel insulted, but instead he walks straight into the role like someone who isn't fully sure to admit that he's hit rock bottom yet. But this is where the story gets incredibly good, because the Z-Team isn't just an ensemble cast. They function like a mirror aimed straight at Robert. Every character reflects a different sort of aspect of what rebuilding your life can look like. Some messy, some painful, some optimistic, all personal. Straight away, the most obvious example of this is Invisigal. She stands out immediately as an emotional centerpiece of the team towards you. Her past is very tangled, and the game makes it very clear that she has taken more than just a few wrong turns. But Robert sees something in Invisigal that she's never been allowed to see in herself. Their dynamic is sort of teacher-student in a way, but it's also much more personal than that, and you can see that there is a respect that grows and continues to do so. It is two people trying to figure out whether redemption is a thing that you earn or a thing you grow into. She often tests boundaries, she retreats when she's scared, and she surprises everyone exactly when you've written her off. Robert's investment in her feels deeply personal, like he's trying to save both himself and her at the same time. And I also think that her superpower of being able to go invisible, what a guess that is an incredible narrative device. I often found myself paranoid. If I was ever having a conversation with a completely different character and it was about Invisigal, I was always really careful about what I would be saying, just in case she was in the room and I had no idea she was there. Then you also have other characters such as Blonde Blazer, whose whole arc deals with identity in a way that feels incredibly grounded. She has built this persona based around her power that is all about flash, confidence and presence, but you do sort of start to learn that her struggle isn't necessarily about being good or bad, it is about being authentic and being her. She wants to be comfortable with a version of herself that doesn't have the spotlight on her, and watching her somewhat lower that guard is quite nice to see. And you also have Chase, who brings an entirely different flavour to the story. His power is, or was, extreme speed, which sounds impressive until he eventually finds out that every use of it has aged him physically. It is heartbreaking, because he didn't understand what was happening until the signs are too obvious to ignore. He is now stuck as this old man, and it's incredibly tragic, but the way that Chase is written is just so good and so funny. He serves as brilliant comic relief, but also tragic reminder of what the sort of responsibility of having a power can do to you. But the magic of the story really comes from how the entire group functions together. The Z-Team isn't treated like comic relief rejects or a group of villains cosplaying as heroes. They are portrayed as people who are genuinely trying at times, maybe doing the opposite of trying at other times. Even their starting points are wildly unsteady. They bicker, they bond, they misunderstand, they share small triumphs, and they rely on Robert more than they initially realise. There is this wonderful sense that every mission they complete isn't necessarily about stopping crime. Every single time that they do some good it makes them better. Some team members lean on the humour, some lean on the bravado, some try to sort of hide away. The writing captures all of these tiny social dynamics that make team stories feel real. The hesitant respect, the awkward friendship, the way they test Robert to see whether he genuinely does care about them or whether he will run away. And Robert, normally, depending on your choices, I guess, consistently chooses to help them. He listens, he guides, he gets frustrated, and then he shows up again the next day. It is incredibly rewarding to watch the team slowly realise that he's not giving up on them. During your first shift in the game, the heroes even joke about when they think Robert will quit, with someone, I can't remember which character it is, even choosing that he will quit that day. For all the emotional weight the story carries, one thing that deserves way more attention is just how funny the game is. Not in a forced punchline every 10 seconds kind of way. The humour, I find, sits right at the core of the experience. The team dynamics, the weirdly specific interactions around the office, Robert's painfully earnest attempts at leadership, all of it blends into this wonderfully charming tone that makes the whole world feel just so fun to be in. Before I played the game, I kept hearing that the comedy was a bit hit or miss, and I went in expecting some uneven jokes that wouldn't land, but honestly, I can probably count on one hand the misses for me. Maybe I'm just the perfect target audience for this kind of humour, but I just felt like the game always had this effortless rhythm with its dialogue, where the jokes would come from personality rather than setup. The Z-Team don't try to be funny, they are funny because of who they are. Half of the humour just comes from watching these characters be themselves. What really made me fall in love with it is the way that the game balances the comedy and the soul. Scenes shift from heartfelt to ridiculous just because that's how real people work. Someone opens up about something, and then something else unintentionally hilarious could happen straight afterwards, and the moment becomes richer instead of undercut. The game respects the emotional beats while still allowing the characters to be messy. It delivers this perfect blend of warmth and laughter, and I just really loved it. The game's writing deserves a lot of credit. It treats these characters like people with lives before and after you arrive. Conversations happen casually, humour pops up at the best times, and it just never feels forced. But more importantly, the narrative is built around the idea that purpose isn't something you lose forever. It bends, it reshapes, it shows up in places you wouldn't expect. That philosophy runs through Robert, through Invisigal, and every member of the Z-Team, tying their stories together into something that feels heartfelt and surprisingly profound for a game built on dispatch screens and hero management. The game is trying to tell you that your fate is not predetermined and that you can be better regardless of how bad you feel you may have been. One thing I absolutely have to gush about is how Dispatch looks. The animation and art direction are simply on another level. The character designs are polished without ever losing charm, the environments feel lived in, and the lighting choices give every scene a cinematic presence. But the real showstopper is, for me, the facial animations. The amount of emotion they squeeze into the smallest twitch of an eyebrow is genuinely so impressive. It sounds like such a basic feature on paper to have your characters emote. But if you actually really pay attention and think about it, you will realise how many games actually never manage to communicate this much personality through micro-expressions. Dispatch nails it. Every smirk, every hesitation, every tiny shift in a character's eyes carries weight. It makes conversations feel alive, and sometimes not saying anything is the best way to say everything. And then there is the music, which deserves a round of applause all on its own. Everyone clap. Thank you. Every scene feels matched with exactly the right song, almost like the soundtrack is another character in the story. The house party sequence is one I don't think I'll ever forget, purely because the music choice was just so unbelievably on point. It captured the mood perfectly, the comfort, the tension, the spark of something brewing between the characters. Even the credit songs at the end of each chapter hit exactly the right note. They become the emotional cooldown after each chapter, that perfect moment where you sit back and process what you just experienced. It is rare for a soundtrack to stick with me this strongly, but Dispatch has pulled it off effortlessly. The voice acting, though, is where this game turns into something truly special. Aaron Paul as Robert was a revelation. The man should have had a Game of the Year nomination, no question. He brings this blend of vulnerability, sarcasm, exhaustion and determination that fits Robert better than I think any other voice actor really could have done. But it didn't surprise me at all. As somebody that has watched BoJack Horseman 3 times, I know that Aaron Paul is incapable of giving a weak vocal performance. Then you have Laura Bailey as Invisigal, and she absolutely crushes it. She brings a layered performance that captures every side of Invisigal's personality. The fear, the sharp edges, the reluctant hope, the moments where she wants to be good but doesn't fully know how. Her delivery elevates every scene she's in. And Jeffrey Wright as Chase, he has the calm, reflective tone that fits the character, but also the sort of masterful comedic timing. He did an absolutely phenomenal job. Truthfully, everybody in this cast delivers. I'm not going to go through everybody, but those were the three that really stood out the most to me. I feel like everyone's performance really brings so much life to the writing that you start forgetting that you're even listening to actors. The fact that Moist Critical plays Sonar in this game is not even really noticeable. When he speaks, you can tell it's him, but his voice just fits that character and that role so well. When a game manages to just absolutely nail the animation, the music and the voice work at this scale, it creates something that you just completely fall into. Now, here's the truth. The gameplay is a weird one. This is where Dispatch really takes a sharp turn from what most of these narrative style games do, and I'm so glad that it did. You know the typical formula of these type of games. You slowly walk around in a clunky manner, you inspect objects that don't really matter, you do quick time events for tasks that are really mundane, and it all feels a bit pointless. Dispatch looks at all that and politely shows it the door. Instead of padding out the experience with filler, it gives you something that actually feels like gameplay, and something that ties directly into the story and the world. You are the superhero dispatcher. That is the job, and that is what you do. You will get missions pop up on a screen. A mission might need somebody with good combat skills, with good charisma skills, some mobility, intelligence, all of that stuff, or it might need a little bit of both. But the game will not tell you what it needs. You will read the description and you will choose for yourself what type of hero it needs. Now, each mission has a hidden skill graph, which is a pronged chart showing you exactly what the situation demands. You do not get to see this until you have completed the mission. Your heroes have their own graphs, and your goal is to cover as much of the mission chart as possible with the hero's graph. Once you commit, the game will put a ball on the screen, it will give you a percentage chance of succeeding, and then you hope that you filled in enough of the section to complete the mission. It becomes an incredibly hypnotic loop. You pick the right hero or heroes, you match their skills to the mission, you send them off, and you pray that it works. Now, when they complete their mission, they will have to return back to HQ, which takes time. You will have to let them rest, which takes time. So multiple missions can pop up at once, and if you don't have the right hero available, then you're screwed. So you really need to be careful about how you do this. You also have the ability to upgrade your heroes. You can give them abilities, but you can also increase their stats every time they level up. When this happens, you can sort of choose how you want your heroes to develop. Do you want them to become really good at one or two specific skills, or do you want them to be all-rounders? At the end of the day, you should probably try to have some that are really specific, and then some that are all-rounders. But at the end of the day, it is entirely your choice. But also, the gameplay is actually emotionally reactive to the story. If a hero is really angry or something, then they might not show up to work. If they have some beef with somebody, then they might sabotage them on the game. The game isn't separate to the story. They are intertwined. Is the gameplay perfect? Absolutely not, no. The hacking exists, I'll be honest, I didn't really like it that much, I found it incredibly tedious. But the actual dispatching stuff I really loved, and I really wish that there was an endless mode, but unless I missed it, there sadly isn't. And the thing about Dispatch, to me, is that everything is woven together. The story, the relationships, the choices, the failures, the little victories, it all circles back to this idea that people can grow, that purpose can be rediscovered, and that redemption is messy, but worth fighting for. I walked into this game expecting a quirky superhero story, and what I got was something genuinely heartfelt, carried by characters I cared about, wrapped in a world that constantly surprised me. It is a game about second chances, about rebuilding, about trying even when you've been knocked down so many times that standing back up just feels ridiculous. Watching Robert guide a team of broken, hopeful, chaotic ex-villains towards something better, and watching them slowly, stubbornly believe in themselves, really left a mark on me. And the brutal truth of Dispatch is, I struggle to see how a game in this genre is going to eventually top this. I thought it was absolutely incredible. I think it's the best game in the genre we've got since Detroit Become Human, and I am incredibly excited for whatever they can cook up next. And I do hope it is a Dispatch Season 2. If you made it this far into the video, thank you very much. It means the world to me, and it would mean even more of the world to me if you could leave the video a like, because it really does help the channel out. If you are new here, then you may want to go back a week or so in the videos tab, because I uploaded some absolute bangers in December. I ranked every single 2025 game that I played, including Dispatch, and I played over 30 2025 games last year, so that's a pretty nice one. And then the week after that, I uploaded a video where I ranked every single game I played last year, which was over 60 games, so they will be great viewing for you, so please go and watch those and then subscribe. But for now, that is all from me. Have a nice day, goodbye, and Happy New Year.
Don't you got some work to do?
Don't you got some dementia to onset?
That one stung a little.